So, dear friends and distinguished members, it is a pleasure to extend a warm and hearty welcome to all of you to this webinar on emerging opportunities in the Indian capital market. We are happy to have Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, Group Chairman, IndiTrade Capital Limited, for this address today. His varied experience and expertise on the subject and valuable insights would definitely benefit us. Ever since COVID has struck us, markets have experienced a lot of uncertainty. It has sent markets around the world crashing to levels not witnessed since the global financial crisis of 2008. The total market cap lost is a staggering 25% from the start of the year. The stock market is reflective of the sentiments this pandemic has unleashed upon investors, foreign and domestic alike. Companies have scaled back and there has been negligible growth in the last 2 to 3 months. Certain sectors such as hospitality, tourism and entertainment have been the worst hit, and stocks of such companies have plummeted by more than 40%. Our market cap to GDP ratio has come down to almost close to the 2008 bottom level, and price to book ratio was trading at well below the historical average of 2.8 times. Nifty 50 was back to 2016 levels, and similarly, Nifty Midcap 100 was down to 2014 levels. The economic cost of the lockdown will be huge. Some demand is getting deferred, while some demand is getting destroyed altogether, and India's GDP growth is likely to come down drastically. Most of the developed economies may even witness degrowth this year. Amongst these challenges, there are certain positives and opportunities as well. And companies with innovative products, increasing distribution reach, technology-driven approach, and a healthy balance sheet will survive and grow once the dust settles. For now, FPIs have pulled out a big chunk from Indian equities and debt market, but this is a temporary phase. Once a medical solution comes out, these investments will come back to India as well. After all, in the developed world, most of the yields are in the negative or nearing the zero level. Thus, search for better yields and returns may lead the money back to India. With some of these thoughts, and without taking much of your time, I would like to now invite Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay to share his valuable thoughts on this topic. Sir, please.
Thank you, Akashji, Subodhji, Rishabhji, and friends who have joined the webinar today. It's a pleasure and honor to be given this opportunity to interact with you today. I think, as Akashji mentioned and Subodhji was talking to me just before we started, it's a kind of a very weird situation, I would say, that while there is a raging pandemic, and we all know there has been a significant destruction of GDP over the last few months, the capital market is kind of on its own steam, moving in a completely different direction than what one would have expected under such circumstances. And it still continues to be a mystery to many, many investors, retail in particular. I think I will today, as my topic indicates, will talk about the opportunities. And I'm by nature optimistic person, and I believe that every crisis brings us an opportunity, and we have to be really there to kind of encash on these opportunities. I will just mention few facts, few figures, and few areas of opportunity which we believe is very, very critical for us to understand and then try and take benefit of those. FY21, the current fiscal where we are, I think predictions vary, but definitely there is a significant degrowth in the GDP, which is on the cards. Nobody is doubting that, nobody is debating that. And if you really look at the market, capital markets in particular, what capital markets do, capital markets always look at the future. So capital market has by default started looking at FY22, the next year, next fiscal. And the next fiscal, what is the next fiscal giving us indications of? Any analysis, any expert view, or any global economist opinion, if you check, they are all talking about a GDP growth in India between 7 and 9%. let's not get into the debate whether it will be 7 or 8 or 9. Let's say it's around 8%. If FY22 GDP growth is going to be 8%, and normally we have an inflation, RBI targets an inflation of, to keep the inflation within a range of around 6%. If we assume that is going to be a 6% inflation, so what we are looking at for FY22 is a nominal GDP growth of 8 plus 6, 14%. Now, if we are looking at a 14% GDP, nominal GDP growth in FY22, and companies which are in the market and which are performing and which has got a significant demand both in India and abroad, obviously they are expected to perform better than the average GDP growth. So you can imagine what kind of potential you are looking at for FY22. We can kind of think of the gloom and doom all around us for the current fiscal, or we can look at what the future is going to present opportunity in the shape and size of an opportunity of FY22, where we will have a GDP growth, nominal GDP that is, of the absolute GDP plus inflation about 14-15%, and a company performing well will obviously outperform the average GDP growth. That's my point number one. Point number two, there are certain structural changes which are happening in India. These structural changes were happening even without Corona and related problems. What are these structural changes? I think we all are aware of these changes, and it is all around us. The number one change is urbanization. Over the years, last 10 years, the pace of urbanization in India has moved up significantly. Now this presents a significant opportunity for a whole lot of companies and sectors. We'll come back and talk about it in a while. The second trend, which got a big boost from GST, is the formalization of the economy. Now, multiple sectors, we may or may not notice it, but there is a significant move towards formalization of the economy. And we are seeing the result of that on a regular basis, month-on-month basis, whether it's a small thing like a biscuit, where the demand for Britannia, on the sale of Britannia, which is a formal sector, is continuously increasing, or the paints, where the paint sales of the structured and formal companies are continuously increasing, or even gold jewelry, where the sales and the business of the listed and respected formal sector companies are continuously increasing. Now, this again provides a significant opportunity to a sector, to a section of the market, section of the economy. The third issue which I would like to highlight here is the China angle. Now, there is always a China angle, good, bad, ugly. But I'm talking about the good China angle, which is good for India. Point number one, even much before COVID, because of the trade sanctions and the trade wars, which China and US started fighting, that has been leading to a lot of global manufacturers trying to move away their supply chain in a manner whereby their dependency on China gets reduced. Now, this was happening all around us much before COVID struck the world. With COVID and with what has happened, or the China's role, or we can argue one way or the other, people have got a much more impetus to move the supply chain, at least to a great extent, away from China. And that includes a lot of Indian manufacturers who are dependent on China to a great extent for the ingredients and multiple other things. Now, this again provides a huge opportunity for Indian companies and multiple Indian sectors. The way we look at it, we believe this is a Y2K moment for Indian manufacturing. I think all of you will remember 2000, when it was a Y2K, which probably enabled Indian IT to take a quantum jump and become amongst the leaders in the global IT scenario. India played a huge role in the Y2K, Indian IT companies. And I think the time has come for Indian manufacturing to play that role in the global market. There are enough and more opportunities, Indian manufacturing has to rise up to the challenge and seize these opportunities. Now, are these happening? I think they are happening. And I think the pace of that will accelerate as and when we come out of COVID and move forward with our GDP growth and our path of growth. The fourth point I wanted to mention, and I think it's extremely important from all our day-to-day lives also. You know, with the COVID coming in, I think there is a general feeling of gloom and doom. Everybody is thinking, what will happen going forward? You know, in the new normal, will my business survive? Will this country survive? Will the economy survive? Will the informal sector survive? And there are all kinds of questions. Will we survive? I think, you know, if you step back and look at the history of the world for last 100, 120 years, and, you know, I had seen this during my research in multiple, articles. The world has been going through multiple events of, I won't say similar, but to an extent, almost similar magnitude. Look at, you know, let's say start from 1900s. We had the First World War. After that, we had the massive Spanish flu. Then we had the Great Depression. We had Second World War. Then we had the Korean War, Vietnamese War. The loss of life and loss of livelihood, the magnitude of that was enormous. Yes, COVID is a huge problem. COVID is playing havoc with our economy and our lives and livelihood. But hopefully the magnitude of devastation and destruction which we had seen in the world wars, I think we will escape with a much, much lower casualty this time. Let's hope and pray we can do that. Till now, the signs are very much visible of that. Now, let me come back quickly to what I have been talking all along, that there are opportunities. Now, yes, there are opportunities. Where are they? Which are the opportunities we are talking about if we come back and translate it back into capital markets? The first opportunity I'd like to point out, and as I said, the manufacturing, there the opportunity lies in our chemical and specialty chemicals in particular. I think these are areas where China was completely dominating. Most of the cases, the 100% supply chain was coming out of India and China for these chemicals and specialty chemicals. Whether it's a global company, but the global company's base for manufacturing was China, and in some cases to an extent in India. Now with COVID and the trade war, these global companies and global manufacturers who require these chemicals and specialty chemicals have realized the vulnerability of depending on one country, and they are in the process of diversifying their supply chain. The benefit for Indian chemical and specialty chemical manufacturers is absolutely tangible. It is not a theoretical discussion, and it's happening every day. Indian manufacturers who have the capacity and who have the ability to ramp up capacity, they are being and will be flooded with incremental orders. Now, remember, these are not one-time orders. These are, you are getting integrated with the global supply chain for very large manufacturing industries. And these are going to reap benefits over decades to come. So Indian chemical and specialty chemical industry is in an extremely sweet spot. We'll talk about valuation, we'll talk about where we are, but the reality is there is a long, long way to go from where we are today, whether in terms of output and even the market valuation of Indian chemical and specialty chemical companies. The next sector which I will come to is the entire COVID-related sector, which is pharma, healthcare, and insurance. Now remember, people have realized the necessity more and more of insurance as well as healthcare in a pandemic scenario. Now this pandemic has taught us a lot of things and also given us multiple lessons. Indian pharmaceutical companies, the companies which are Indian, which are listed in India and have business in India, and our manufacturing in India had almost 70% of their components, are not components, ingredients coming from China. And I think that is an unacceptable situation, and they have realized that. So I'm not even talking about the global companies manufacturing. I'm talking about Indian companies starting manufacturing of ingredients in India. So it's a huge, huge opportunity. And the benefit doesn't only remain with the particular pharmaceutical company or healthcare company. It goes down the chain. And there are multiple other entities who are suppliers to these pharmaceutical companies, OEMs to these pharmaceutical companies, who will benefit out of this. Global manufacturers, on the other hand, who had large manufacturing bases in China, are looking at coming up and setting up plans or ramping up their capacity in India. I think that's going to continue. We have just seen the tip of the iceberg. It's going to really, really become big going forward. So Indian pharma will definitely benefit in a significant manner. The credibility of Indian manufacturing needs to be established. Integrity of Indian processes needs to be there. And I think our pharma and chemicals sector are in for fantastic time going forward. Healthcare, obviously, I think health tourism had just started picking up. But believe me, it's just, again, just the beginning. The healthcare facilities in India has got a boost by default. Probably government never planned that they will be required or they will be going and setting up these kind of healthcare facilities, which they have been forced to do over the last 45 to 60 days. I'm not saying all these facilities will continue in future, but it has given a huge lesson to the entire government machinery, the political class, and corporates as well. So the structure of healthcare services delivery will change, and that will benefit the healthcare companies going forward. Yes, right now, there are a lot of pain in this sector, a lot of uncertainty, but I think it's going to change for the better. And the initial signs of that are visible. The next sector which I must talk about, and I think most of you are familiar with, these are consumer durables, consumer staples, and auto, a segment of auto. Why is that? I think this has got nothing to do with global. This has got nothing to do with anything else except the fact that rural India was showing signs of actually green shoots even before the pandemic struck us. There has been a fantastic crop last season. This season is expected to be good. The realizations which the farmers got during the last season was record. Again, this season is expected to be fantastic. We also had significant amount of liquidity, going to the rural India through NREGA and multiple other schemes which the government floated to support the population during the lockdown of Corona. So rural India definitely has a lot better a chance of faster recovery than urban India, and that's pretty much visible in the numbers of companies which are coming out in Q1. And this is real. This is not that some prediction. This is actually happening. Some of you would have seen the numbers of Britannia. Amazing amount of sales growth. Some of you would have seen the two-wheeler sales numbers, tractor sales numbers. These are real. This is happening as we speak. So consumer durable companies, consumer staples, which have deep rural distribution, I think they are going to benefit in a big way. The last sector which I'm going to talk about, not last but one, is Indian IT. Now there are multiple predictions of Indian IT and people have a whole lot of views. I firmly believe that Indian IT is getting its second lease of life. Indian IT has got stuck in a kind of a zone where it was showing average growth. There was no new peaks which they were in the process of scaling. I think this COVID has given them that impetus. What's happened is that globally, consolidation of vendors are happening. And if you hear what Mr. Nilekani was saying, what Mr. Premji was saying, and what even today HCL guys were saying during the result, it's very clear the global large IT users are talking about consolidation of their service providers. And this does help Indian companies. Some of the big Indian companies definitely will benefit in a big, big way. The second point, which is extremely critical, is that fortunately, Indian IT companies were moving and trying desperately to provide digital services even for the last 1.5 years. And as a result of that, I think today, close to 40% of their revenue comes from digital services. Obviously, in a post-COVID scenario, the demand for digital services is shooting really. And I think Indian companies can benefit significantly. The last but not the least on the IT is that, you see, initially people were confused. What will happen to IT companies if this kind of pandemic persists? I think everybody has learned over the last few months that the demand for IT is only increasing. You know, we are sitting at home. We are not able to travel. So we are using more and more technology. And this definitely is going to help the IT companies. And that's pretty much what we saw when the IT companies declared results during the Q1 results. The body language of the management has changed. They are confident. They have started giving guidelines of growth, constant currency revenue growth, margin growth. This was kind of not there even before the pandemic. And now there has come back. So please look at Indian IT companies. I think they are getting into a zone where they will take the next leap. The last sector which I will like to talk about is the sector which benefits when government starts public spending. Multiple views are there, economists, television channels, newspapers. When you read, you will read multiple views of what the government needs to do under the circumstances. There is a problem on employment, there is a problem on demand, what the government needs to do. I don't know what the government will do, but I am sure what they definitely will do is spend on infrastructure, because that's one thing governments have been doing for thousands of years. You know, if you read storybooks, when there was a drought or famine 1,000 years back, the kings used to make people dig maybe a pond and pay. So this is a standard practice for thousands of years across the world. You spend on infrastructure, create something permanent, and pay the people so that they get their livelihood back, as well as you create something which will benefit the economy over a period of time. And that's exactly what's going to happen. In fact, government has been doing it because demand slowdown had happened in India much before the pandemic. And government has started spending on public infrastructure. That will gather momentum. It has to gather momentum. Under the circumstances, who benefits? The cement companies. So while the demand for cement this quarter because of monsoon may be low and this and that, the fact is cement companies will definitely benefit. And also construction companies, particularly road construction companies, because we believe that's the easiest for the government to target. Because I'll talk about in a minute the bottlenecks. One of the bottleneck of India is transport. And transport requires good roads. So the road construction company and cement companies one need to look at, because they will definitely benefit over a period of time. So if you look out a 1 year period, these companies are definitely going to get incremental orders, and the demand for their services or products will continuously increase. The last point I want to leave with you is that there are challenges. You know, I talked about all the good things, but there are challenges. What are the challenges? I think the biggest challenge in India is the infrastructure, the suboptimal infrastructure for a whole lot of things. You start with power, you start with land, you start with water, you start with, you can go on and on. I think that's a bottleneck. And what else is a bottleneck? I think the labor laws. These are the two things which holds back our manufacturing. Now, I'm not sure what will happen, and it's very, very difficult to predict what will happen in these areas. Now, whether the government will be able to proactively navigate and use this crisis to kind of facilitate passage of laws which will benefit manufacturing, I'm not sure. There are political compulsions, there are other challenges, so one cannot be certain about that. But one thing we are certain is that even without those happening, the sectors I talked about, the businesses I alluded to will benefit undoubtedly in a post-COVID scenario. as we've been witnessing today. And these are the sectors, these are the pockets of the industry which will take India to a next level. And obviously capital market will reflect it. One last point before I conclude my monologue, and I would love to interact with all of you and and understand from all of you, try and answer your questions. Last point I want to mention, Modi ji has been talking about a 5 trillion economy. I don't know when the 5 trillion will happen, but I can with reasonable certainty say that we are looking at a between 6 and 8 trillion economy by 2030. That's not a rocket science. That's not some weird mathematical calculation. It's plain and simple arithmetic. We will be there. Assuming even we grow at 8.5%, 8%, I think we are there. And the growth rate will determine whether we hit that 8 trillion or we are at 6.5 trillion. But the fact is, even with that 6.5 trillion or 8 trillion, we will be the third largest economy in the world in nominal GDP terms. Nominal, not PPP. PPP we are way ahead. But even in nominal GDP terms, we'll be just below USA and China. That's where we will be. Today we are at 7th place in terms of GDP, in terms of world economies. We will definitely be at the 3rd place by 2030. Now, whether if the growth is good, maybe we'll reach there in 2025, 26. We don't know. But the fact is we are going there. And it's important for all of us to understand that if we are the 3rd largest economy in the world, our corporates, our capital market will exponentially grow from here. It has to exponentially grow from here. That's how we will, because these two will go hand in hand. And remember, the capital market always looks at the future and starts moving. So if we are reaching a 6.5 trillion in 2027, please be sure that Indian markets will start discounting that by 2025 or maybe 2025, 26. We will have discounted that 6.5 trillion. I think it's important for us to understand when we are playing in the market, when we are seeking opportunities in the capital market. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Bandyopadhyay, for this very, very insightful, opening remarks for our session. Now, I would request Mr. Subodh Agarwal to, ask a few questions that our members have raised and seek answers from you for the same. Mr. Agarwal. You're on mute.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Saha, for giving me this, in fact, baton to bat in front of Mr. Bandyopadhyay, since he's a good old friend. So he spoke let me tell you, you spoke very well and probably covered A to Z, which in 30 minutes could be covered. And that's why I'm finding that there are a lot of queries that has come up. The first query is very pertinent and relevant that has come up from Mr. Narendra Saha, again a good friend of mine, who is a chartered accountant. Mr. Saha, are you available? Narendra ji, can you raise the question? Or I should ask the question.
Can you bring Mr. Narendra Shah on the panel?
Mr. Saha and Mr. Vijay Chanda.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll ask the query, question on Mr. Saha's behalf.
Munmun, are you there?
Yes, I have promoted him as a panelist.
Okay.
Narendra Shah and Vijay Chandak, both.
Great, great.
And Mr. Vasudev Agarwal also.
Okay,
Narendra ji,
okay.
are you there? Fine. I'll ask the query since he is not there. His query is, there is big disconnect between share market and hard times going on, which we were talking before the program started. If so, whether investors are taken for a rough ride ahead. This is the query from Mr. Narendra Saha. Mr. Bandyopadhyay.
I think Narendra ji, I think I started by saying there is a disconnect. And this disconnect is bound to happen predominantly on the back of two things. One, market always looks at the future. So today the market is looking at FY22. And as I said, FY22, the growth prediction is between 7 and 9% GDP growth. You had about 6% inflation. So we are looking at about 14% nominal growth in FY22. So the market is looking at that, and market is trying to ascribe value to things based on that. That's point number one. Point number two is that there is enough and more liquidity globally. I'm not talking about only India. On the back of the fact that to help the world economies, whether it's US, Japan, Europe, UK, China, everywhere, huge amount of liquidity has been injected into the economy. Now, end of the day, this liquidity will find its way into markets also to an extent. And that's pretty much what is happening. So these two combination is pulling the market upwards. Of course, will the market continue its upward journey without any interruption? May not be. There can be some correction here and there. That's why it's extremely important that we pick up the stocks and pick up the sectors carefully. If you ask me, what should I buy tomorrow and sell day after, I probably don't have an answer. But if you ask me that I want to buy something for 1 year, 2 years, I think the sectors, the companies which I alluded to will fit in beautifully because of the nature of their business, the way they will kind of move forward, the kind of opportunities they will get going forward. We have to focus on that. And if you really look at our companies, the valuations at which they are quoting vis-a-vis, what some of the global companies are quoting in that particular sector, we are not way off. Yeah, in some cases there are valuation anomalies. We have to be cognizant of that, but it's not that everywhere. It is not that all the companies are expensive and should get corrected. So there are opportunities, and market is always like that. Market will always have some opportunities, and of course some exuberance which probably have no rationale.
So, Narendra ji, your question has been answered, but my only add-on to that and additional query, Mr. Bandyopadhyay, you are looking at 8% of contraction going percent. So if the contraction in GDP in 2020-21 is 9 to 9.5%, then is it feasible or possible that positive GDP of 8% growth in 22 we can get?
Absolutely. That is definitely going to happen. So, the base assumption there is Corona will get addressed by, let's say Q2 at least. By Q2 end, the Corona to an extent gets addressed. We come back and start working, going back, doing what we were doing from Q3. So by Q4, things will start looking up. So this year, obviously, we'll have a negative GDP growth. Estimates vary between 5% and 9%, as you rightly said. But we are talking about FY22. Now, FY22, definitely, there will be a significant GDP growth opportunity. Two reasons. One, we were already growing at, if you look at 5-6%, which has come down significantly from where we were earlier, but we were at about 5-6%. Now the pent-up demand for what we have lost. Now certain things, as I think, as Mr. Akash Shah was mentioning, that there is a demand destruction, there is a demand postponement. Now what has been destroyed will not come back. So you wanted to go to London in 2020, you are not able to go, so that's gone. But there will be a pent-up demand for so many things. Like we have been seeing in the month of June also. There are so many things where companies which are showing significant spurt in sales because of the pent-up demand. So this pent-up demand and certain amount of what I talked about, the China factor, which is where Indian companies will get more and more opportunity to service global clients, will push us towards a higher GDP. That's by and large the consensus across the spectrum.
So now we have a query from Vasudev Agrawal and Mr. Vijay Chandak. Both are starting from their name start from V. I'll give opportunity first to Vasudev Agrawal ji. Vasudev ji, what is your query? Please unmute, please. Or Vijay ji, can you raise your query?
Sure. Sir, as you pointed out right now that there could be a GDP growth of 6, 7 to 8, 9% into financial year 2022. Only yesterday I came across with the ACRA report, which is the Indian institution, and they talked about even GDP growth of minus in double digit for this financial year FY21. And sir, as the months pass by from March, April, May, June, every time, whether it's Indian institution or the global institution like IMF, World Bank, Nomura, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, whosoever it may be, or even Indian institutions, they are month by month, they are projecting downwards about our Indian GDP projections for this financial year. And the report which came yesterday by the ICRA was the worst performance which they are predicting because of the scene and the situation prevailing. And what you talked about the pent-up demand. So this is the demand for the time being. Once this is sorted out, again we may not get kind of the the kind of locking scene again we are seeing in part of the India. Factories are resuming, stopping. There is less movement of the transportation, so on. Do we really be able to achieve 7, 8, 9% kind of the GDP growth in the financial year 2022?
See, I think you are absolutely right. See, this year, what is happening is we started with a negative growth projection of 4-5%, and with increase in the lockdown period, reimposition of lockdown in multiple areas, the predictions, as you are rightly saying, I'm also seeing all these predictions. Prediction for the current fiscal is continuously deteriorating. And you're absolutely right there. Now, people were talking about growth coming back in Q3. Now they're talking about growth coming back only in Q4. And you're absolutely right. And I'm also saying here that this year definitely is going to be anywhere between, between 5 and 10%. Let's put it this way. Depending on when we put a stop to this corona-induced lockdowns and all kind of interruptions. But the question is, the economy on its own has a momentum, which was about 5-6%, which is absolutely bad. Before we were locked down, we went into lockdown. If you remember, India was already slowing down. India had slowed down from 8-9% to about 5-6%. So that was the momentum. That is the speed at which our engine was moving. I'm saying once we go back, that is the momentum. That is where we will start. Now with all this pent-up demand and things like that, and what is happening as far as the world economy is concerned, the demand for products and services from India will go up. And that's happening actually. And I can tell you that with some knowledge sitting here, that Indian manufacturing companies are getting very, very large opportunities to get inside the global supply chain. That's happening already. So we can debate whether it will be 7%, 8%, 9%. I don't know. Nobody knows. But the predictions for 22 today, what the predictions are coming from, like the houses you mentioned, most of the houses also have given the prediction for FY22. And their FY22 prediction is in the range between 7 and 9. That's where they are kind of mota-moti ranging. Now, GDP prediction is always a prediction. It is not a science. It is an art. People assume so many things, and that's how they are coming at. We believe that, very strongly we believe that, I think the moment the corona gets arrested, we are itching to go back to work. We are all itching to do things because our livelihood is at stake. Our growth is at stake. So what government will do, I don't know. But what we will do, all of us will do, we know. We definitely want to go and become creative and start doing a lot of activities so that we can benefit out of the emerging scenario. So I am very hopeful. I am very positive. And I think that is the sentiment which market is also carrying today. Market is believing that 8-9% GDP growth is possible in FY22. And on the back of that, the numbers are being extrapolated.
Sir, there is a follow-up question to that. As we understand that GDP growth can take place only when there is a lot of physical stimulus to be given by the government. If we go to the pre-COVID level also, the two important restraint factors, like one is physical deficit, which has already gone haywire in the last financial year, and as well as the debt to GDP ratio of the country, which was more than 70% during the last financial year. So government do not have any room left out either to go for the physical stimulus or to give any kind of the borrowings and other things to give the boost to the demand scenario into the system. We are India, we are not America, those who can print money to any extent and can provide incentive to the system. We have got monetary space but not the physical space. So what could be the avenues which you foresee that they can act as an injection to boost the GDP and growth into our Indian economy?
See, you are absolutely right, and that is why you see the countries, all these countries you mentioned, USA, Germany, pretty much all the entire European countries, Japan, China, all of them gave anywhere between 20 and 7-8% of GDP as incentive. I think we managed about 1-1.5%.
Right.
All put together about 1-1.5%. That is what the government of India could muster. And you're absolutely right. We don't have the financial capability to do that. And that's pretty absolutely correct. So we cannot expect the kind of recovery which we are seeing in Europe or even in US. But the government is trying. Let me tell you that. There are two things. One is, I think nobody will be very worried if we breach the budgetary deficit limits. That's pretty much the message the government also has got, that the budget target of fiscal deficit, probably they will not be able to meet, they will exceed that. I don't think they will get a downgrade from the rating agencies because of that in this fiscal. That's point number one. Point number two, look at what government is doing. If you just now switch on the TV today, later on, you will see the Prime Minister is having a session with Finance Minister and Niti Aayog and everybody. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to sell some of the PSUs. They're trying to raise money by selling some of the assets which they have. I think that is the only panacea, because that, without disturbing any of the other calculations, brings money in the hand of the government, which then they can use to provide stimulus. And globally this has been practiced. You will remember the Greek debt crisis, that massive, when the Greece was on the verge of collapsing. Eventually what they did, Italy, they sold a lot of government properties, whether it's the castles, whether it's some of their museums, stadiums, airports. That's what they did and raised money. I think India is probably going to follow that. And remember, this is not happening only in COVID. Even before COVID, India was in the same situation. They had very little fiscal maneuverability. So I think that's the only thing which the government can do. Let's hope they are able to do that, because some amount of incentive, some amount of fiscal push is definitely required. And I talked about few sectors which will benefit. But believe me, beyond that also there are multiple sectors in India. Let's say Indian IT. They don't care what the government is doing or not doing. Look at Indian specialty chemical. Actually, they don't care. There are so many sectors which actually are not going to be affected. But overall GDP growth, yes, absolutely correct. Government needs to do something in terms of spending money to kickstart demand, because demand has to be there in the economy.
Vasuji, you have any query?
Yeah. Sudhir ji, my question is very simple. You are very bullish about our economy, and we are also hopeful. And it means there will be bullish trend in the capital market also. Other players like our big bull, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, has said this is the starting of the bull phase. So my question, what is your call, and how much levels you are expecting, and who will be the leaders of this rally?
So I am definitely bullish, as I think I have mentioned while starting. I'm not going to get into the levels, because honestly, I don't believe levels. Levels is for the day traders. I don't get there. I think more important is sectors and companies, because if you're really looking at investing, I think India is a great place to start investing now. Even. Yes, market has moved up from 7,500, 600 where it went to where it is today, 10,600, 800. But there are still significant growth opportunities, undoubtedly. And index will keep moving up. There is no two ways about it. So now the question is, how do we benefit out of this? I think the best thing we can do is pick up good companies. Pick up stocks in the right sector and sit tight. Pick up a good specialty chemical company, sit on it. Pick up a good consumer durable company, sit on it. Pick up a good cement company, sit on it. Pick up a good pharma company and sit on it. See, don't look at what's going to happen tomorrow, day after and all that. Just buy a good company you believe in and sit on it. There is absolutely no problem. And yes, government may or may not give incentive. Government may or may not be able to do certain reform which is required. But some of our companies, believe me, fortunately, we have much more willpower and ability to do things even without government supporting us. And we have been doing it, as India has been doing it, without government support. And some of us say that if government doesn't come, we are happy. As long as government is not interfering in the sector and operating, I'm happy. Indian IT companies keep telling that let the government stay away. We are happy what we are doing. So focus on companies, don't bother about levels. That will be my request. But yes, market will go up. Like Chandraji was mentioning that, are you sure we will grow at 7-8% in FY22? Let's, for argument's sake, say that we don't grow at 7-8, we grow at 6%. 6% GDP growth and 6% inflation. 6% के आसपास inflation on an average रहता है. तो 12% growth हुआ ना आपका on an average. So if there is a 12% growth, some of the companies, if you pick the right companies, their growth will be higher, obviously. 12 is the average which the economy has produced. Now, which other sector will give you that kind of return? It cannot be coming from any other instrument or any other avenue. So, equity is a good avenue today. The correction which has happened post-COVID was a great opportunity, and it is still a great opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Can you give some, whether this rally will continue for 1 year, 2 years, or more than that? Not, you can predict the levels, that is very true.
Sir, not level, but yes, this rally will continue. As I said, there can be correction in between. But again, I will say correction is a good opportunity. Let's say, take an example. Let's say I have decided to buy Nosil. It's a specialty company, chemicals company, rubber chemicals, one of the global leaders. Now they're flooded with orders. Everybody wants to move away from China. So let's say Nosil, I'm just giving a figure. They were supplying 100 people. Now another 100 people want supply from Nosil. Now, if you buy Nosil and sit on it, I don't know whether the price will go to 200, then it's at 100, whether it will go in the 6 months or 1 year. But obviously they are getting huge opportunities. There is a quantum jump in their business level and activity level. Now this is a great opportunity. So I'm saying in these terms, look at companies, look at good sectors and buy and sit on them.
Thank you.
So the last question, Bandyopadhyay, if there is no further additional question, in the US, the elections are around the corner. There is always two contenders. One is the existing Mr. Trump, and the other is Joe Biden. Suppose, let us presume Mr. Biden wins. If Mr. Biden wins, then definitely there will be some structural changes or policy reform. Then what is going on? Then how you see that it will impact the US and in turn the global market?
I think it's a very, very difficult question, Subodhji. I normally don't really comment on political situation, but to the extent it is on economy, I can tell you. Donald Trump's presidency has been extremely disruptive to the existing global order. There are views, very strong views pro-Trump as well, but I will say this, that it has been extremely disruptive. He has been supposedly a friend of India and he has supported India in multiple forums. So India probably has benefited to an extent. but the disruption caused by his policies has impacted us also. So stability in policy is always good for corporates. Now, I can't talk about politics, but for a company, if I have stability of policies, I will definitely prefer that as opposed to somebody trying to, give me undue benefit. As long as I know this is the ground rule and this is what I have to play by, I'm fine. So I think Joe Biden, assuming Joe Biden comes and assuming there is a stability in US policies and thinking, I think it will be good for the world and good for the stability of the world. World has become very, very polarized today. A lot of countries, I would say most countries, have got into this very strong views and very strong camps. It's not good. Post the Second World War, I think the world moved away from that kind of strongman setup to a more democratic setups. And I think that's a way forward. And we all called it a progress. So I think we should hope to move towards that. Maybe the election will change Trump. I don't know. If he becomes a little more sober person and a little more stability in his policies, I think it's good. I'll give you an example. He suddenly announced, his government announced that the visas of all students will be cancelled. I mean, it's completely disruptive. I don't know what he was thinking. Whether it's a Harvard, MIT, all of them went and filed case against that. And finally, he had to withdraw. But there was a huge chaos. He keeps threatening H-1B visas will be cancelled, this, that. So it's very, very destabilizing for companies. So stability is always good. And I will say stability comes back, whether Biden, Trump, whatever. Let's hope there is stability in policies. And I'll say that about all governments all over the world. If I'm doing business in Turkey, if I know there is stability in policies in Turkey, I'll be happy. Same for India, same for everywhere.
Though there are 2-3 more questions, but should we take further questions or?
Please take. We can continue for some time.
Fine. India is an investment country with banning on Chinese products, effect on business in different sectors, and thus in the share market.
So I think first of all, Subodhji, it's extremely difficult to ban Chinese products. I'll tell you the simple reason. I mean, I can quote sector-wise figures. Let's say medicines, all of us take medicine for something or the other. 70% plus ingredients come from China. How do you, if you tomorrow abruptly ban Chinese imports, I think we'll all stop getting our medicines. We don't have the alternate. So, it is a process. If you want to move out of China and if you want to do things yourself or get from somewhere else, it requires a transition period. And we should encourage that, the government should encourage that transition by imposing duties, by imposing a whole lot of other things. See, abruptly banning will be extremely detrimental to everything. Forget capital market. We'll all probably have a major problem, our health-wise. Forget everything else. So, if you have a geopolitical issue with China, which we have to figure out a way of reducing Chinese exports by encouraging Indian manufacturing. And that I alluded to, that requires a whole lot of changes in the thinking of the government and policies of government. So if we are able to do that, I think we are staring at a Y2K moment. And I mentioned while talking about pharma that forget the global supply. Of course, that's a great opportunity. Even 70% of the ingredients which are coming from China, let that, we start manufacturing in India. That itself will provide a huge, huge opportunity of employment, GDP growth, wealth generation, everything. So, ban, yes, why not? If there is a problem with a country, why not? We have banned so many things from China. Pakistan. We don't import most things from Pakistan. I'm sure we can, over a period of time, do the same with China. But we need to be prepared for that. And the transition time will be at least 2+ years.
Thank you. I fully concur with your view. Even though there are more questions, the time is running, we are running short of the time. May I hand over to Mr. Saha, Akashji.
You're on side.
You're on mute.
Thank you so much. Although it was very insightful, but we need to wrap up for today. And I would request Mr. Rishabh Kothari, our Vice President, to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Akash. Dear friends, it was a very, very insightful and informative session on emerging opportunities in the Indian capital market. And I take this opportunity to wholeheartedly thank our guest, Mr. Sudip Bandyopadhyay, Group Chairman, IndiTrade Capital Limited, for gracing this webinar and enriching all of us through his valuable views and insights. I think the whole way the markets have been behaving against popular perception has been some kind of a dilemma or even a absolute confounding situation for a lot of us. And this lucid discussion that he has advised and the insights that he has brought in, I'm confident that it has really enriched all of us in getting a very different and a more stable perspective about the stock market. The governments and the companies and investors and markets are closely monitoring the impact of COVID-19. IPO activities are also likely to pick up momentum post the elimination of the virus. So I think with all these steps, we are looking at a different paradigm in terms of the stock market. And I think this interaction that we had today and also the Q&A will have helped everyone really clear their minds about the way forward. So with these words, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the members of the chamber, friends, business associates, and also most importantly, the friends from the media for their presence in this webinar. I propose a hearty vote of thanks and request you all to carry it with acclamation. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Bandyopadhyay. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for interacting.
Thank you, Subodhji.
To everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.